Our mission is to dissect this really compelling legal document. It's a motion for mistrial filed just recently, August 11, 2025, in a Tennessee divorce case.
A high-stakes one, it seems.
Definitely. We're going to pull apart the very serious allegations made in this motion.
And our entire focus today is on this single, very detailed legal filing.
And this isn't just about digging through legal jargon. You know, it's about a really dramatic, kind of unsettling set of events that are alleged to have unfolded in a real courtroom. So let's unpack this motion and see what it claims happened. Okay, let's set the scene then. Where does this all start?
So we're in Blaine County, Tennessee. The case is Travis George Saxton versus Jessica Rispa Saxton, case number CE30651. It's a divorce case. And on July 22, 2025, during a bench trial, that's where the judge decides, no jury judge Tammy M Harrington granted the divorce to the petitioner, Travis George Saxton.
The respondent, Jessica Rispa Saxton, she didn't just accept this.
Not at all. According to the motion, on that same day, she actually stood up in court, addressed the judge directly, and stated that she believed the case was, and I'm quoting here, tainted, incomplete, and unworthy of final judgment.
Whoa, that's bold.
Very. She apparently felt that continuing would just lend legitimacy to what she called a forum emptied of lawful authority.
And did she say why she felt it was tainted?
The motion says she laid out some incredibly serious accusations right then and there. Things like deprivation of rights under color of law.
Which is basically accusing an official, like the judge, of violating constitutional rights, right?
Exactly. And also fraud on the court, perjury, concealment of assets, biases, and even suppression of her child's plea. It's a heavy list.
Definitely. So what did she want the court to do?
She urged the judge to either dismiss the whole case with prejudice, meaning it couldn't be brought back, or if not that, send it to a jury trial. She argued the whole process was, quote, poisoned.
Poisoned, okay. And did the judge agree?
Apparently not. The motion states the court declined to take corrective action. And then after reportedly discovering additional questionable actions during the lunch break.
More issues.
Seems like it. So the respondent, Jessica Saxton, made a really dramatic move. She completely withdrew from the proceedings, just walked away.
She felt she just couldn't participate anymore.
That seems to be the implication, that she believed the process was stripped of all fairness and impartiality.
Okay, so she withdraws. That's huge. But the story doesn't end there, obviously. What happened next is really the core of this motion, right?
Absolutely. Because hours after she withdrew, Judge Harrington apparently went on the record and said something pretty astonishing.
What was that?
She stated she was going to grant the divorce to Mr. Saxton on the grounds of inappropriate marital conduct that dates all the way back to the testimony related to Mrs. Saxton's original relocation to the state of Alabama. The judge elaborated, saying she believed Miss Saxton's move to Alabama was, quote, for the purposes of an extramarital relationship.
An affair. That's the reason for granting the divorce.
That's what the judge stated, according to the motion. She opined that there was no valid reason for that relocation as far as the job testimony was inconsistent, and added, it was a remote job. Her own witness testified about the relationship with a coworker that he assumed was her boyfriend.
Wait. The judge said her own witness testified about an affair, or at least a boyfriend. That sounds really bad for the respondent, if true.
It would be. But here's the part the motion calls the absolute bombshell. Judge Harrington also stated, and the motion quotes this directly, this would have been the court's ruling before any of this happened, before Ms. Saxton absented herself from the proceedings.
So she's saying she'd already decided, even before Ms. Saxton walked out, maybe even before all the evidence was formally closed.
That's exactly what the motion alleges this statement means. It calls it an express admission that the outcome was predetermined.
That's a huge claim.
Yeah.
Because due process means the judge is supposed to decide after hearing everything, right?
It's the kind of thing that immediately raises massive red flags. The motion argues that the judge's finding that Miss Saxton's own witness testified about an affair or boyfriend is completely contradicted by the certified court transcript of that witness's testimony.
So what did the transcript actually say?
According to the motion, the witness, a man named John Poby Sneed, testified clearly and unequivocally that Miss Saxton moved to Birmingham, Alabama because her company offered her a higher position.
A promotion.
Yes, and significant incentives for educational opportunities, including graduate studies at Samford University. It was presented as a career move.
Okay, that sounds very different from moving for an affair. What about the alleged boyfriend comment?
Well, when Snead was asked directly about any personal relationship, the transcript supposedly shows him saying no. As I've mentioned before, one of her strengths was established referral relationships, and I never heard such a connection.
So, completely different from what the judge allegedly stated he said.
That's the core argument. The motion alleges the court improperly merged an unfounded assumption from a biased adverse witness, presumably someone else who testified, with a fabricated misstatement attributed to respondent's witness, Mr. Snead.
So the claim is the judge basically created a false narrative by mixing things up, maybe taking a rumor from one person and wrongly saying Snead confirmed it.
Essentially, yes, and then used that fabricated narrative as the basis for the divorce ruling. That's the allegation.
And there's more, right? Didn't the motion also mention ignored evidence?
Yes, adding another layer. The motion claims the court willfully and negligently disregarded admitted photographic exhibits documenting domestic violence.
Domestic violence evidence was ignored.
That's the claim, including images of bodily injury to respondent and property damage caused by petitioner in January of 2020, along with other evidence on the record.
So the respondent is arguing that documented physical harm wasn't considered inappropriate marital conduct, but an alleged affair based on supposedly misrepresented testimony was.
Exactly. The motion points out what it sees as the absurdity of concluding that a husband, quote, repeatedly striking his wife in the back and causing visible injury does not constitute inappropriate marital conduct under the laws of Tennessee, especially when that evidence was allegedly right there.
Okay, so when you put it all together, the judge's stated reasons, how they allegedly clash with the transcript, the claim of predetermination, the allegedly ignored evidence, it's clear why they're asking for a mistrial. This isn't just disagreeing with the outcome.
Precisely. It's a full frontal assault on the legitimacy of the judgment itself. And the motion lays out specific legal grounds for why a mistrial is warranted.
Let's get into those. What are the legal arguments?
Okay. First, they cite prejudicial error and denial of due process. This goes back to the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. The core idea is that judges must be impartial and decisions have to be based only on the evidence.
What else?
Second, they argue actual evidence of bias and partiality, again citing the 14th Amendment. Due process isn't just about actual bias. Even the appearance of bias or having a preconceived opinion is a problem.
Right. Justice must be seen to be done.
Exactly. Then there's misconduct of the presiding judge. This references the Tennessee Supreme Court's own rules for judges, the canons of judicial conduct. Canon 1 and 2 basically say judges must have integrity, be impartial, and avoid bias.
And then there's the really serious one you mentioned earlier, fraud.
Yes, fraud on the court by the presiding judge. This is a very grave accusation. It's not just about making a mistake. It suggests a deliberate attempt to undermine the judicial process itself, to improperly influence the outcome.
And that can apply to a judge.
Absolutely. The motion explicitly states this doctrine applies when misconduct comes from an officer of the court, and that includes the judge. It even quotes a famous Supreme Court case, Hazel Atlas Glasscombie v. Hartford Empire Copy from 1944.
What did that case say?
It warned that tampering with the administration of justice involves far more than an injury to a single litigant. It is a wrong against the institution set up to protect and safeguard the public. The motion argues the judge's alleged misrepresentation is exactly the kind of tampering the Supreme Court warned about.
Wow. Okay, that's heavy. Is there more?
There is. The motion goes even further, claiming perjury by the presiding judge. It alleges a statement made by the judge under official oath was materially false, which, if proven true, would violate Tennessee's perjury statute, TCA Section 39-16-702. That's a criminal accusation.
A criminal accusation against the judge herself.
And, naturally, it lists grounds for a new trial or mistrial under the rules of procedure. Citing Federal Rule 60b-1, it argues the judge's actions constituted mistake and surprise. And under Tennessee Rule 59.06, it claims the ruling was contrary to the weight of the evidence because it allegedly rested on misrepresented testimony and ignored key evidence.
Right, the domestic violence evidence, the witness testimony.
Exactly. And finally, it brings up deprivation of rights under color of law. This cites a federal criminal statute, 18 U.S.C. Section 242. The argument is that the judge, acting in her official capacity, deprived the respondent of her 14th Amendment due process rights, fair trial, impartial judge, evidence-based judgment. The motion calls this error material, determinative, and self-authenticating from the court's own words.
So, connecting all these dots, this isn't just about one divorce case going wrong. These arguments challenge the very foundations of how justice is supposed to work, don't they?
If these claims are true, it suggests a profound breakdown in the system for this particular case.
But the motion doesn't just stop at asking for a mistrial in the divorce, does it? There's that whole section about lawful notice. What's that about?
Ah, yes. That's another striking part. It directly cites a federal law, 18 U.S.C. Section 4.
What does that mean?
It essentially means that if you know a felony has been committed and you actively conceal it or fail to report it to the authorities, you yourself could be committing a crime. A felony, in fact.
Okay. So how does that apply here?
Well, the motion explicitly states that the alleged facts it presents, including the claims of perjury by the presiding judge, fraud on the court, official misconduct, and willful deprivation of rights under color of law, constitute felonies under U.S. law.
It's calling the judge's alleged actions felonies?
Yes. And then it says, very directly, that anyone who receives this motion and the evidence attached is, quote, hereby placed on notice of these crimes and their legal duty to report them to the appropriate authorities.
So it's putting everyone on notice, other lawyers, court staff, anyone who gets a copy, that they might have a legal duty to report these alleged felonies.
That's the clear implication. And it adds another line saying, this motion presents only the most recent and readily documented instance. Additional evidence of similar and related criminal acts exists.
So it's not just asking for a do-over in court. It's actively accusing potential criminal behavior and telling people they need to report it. That's incredibly assertive.
It is. It escalates the situation significantly beyond just the divorce appeal itself.
Given all of this, what exactly is the respondent, Jessica Saxton, asking the court to do? What's the relief she's requesting?
It's pretty comprehensive, as you'd expect given the allegations. First and foremost, she wants the court to declare a mistrial. Based on all those grounds we discussed, prejudicial error, judicial bias, denial of due process.
Makes sense. Get rid of the original trial outcome.
Right. Second, she wants all the prior judgments, orders, rulings that she believes were tainted by these problems to be vacated and set aside, basically wiped off the books.
Start fresh.
Third, she's asking for a new trial, but specifically before a jury this time. The motion argues this is needed to ensure impartiality and to restore public confidence.
Instead of the judge deciding alone again.
Exactly. Fourth, she's seeking the immediate and full restoration of her parental rights. This includes getting her children back and having at least 50% parenting time.
So addressing the child custody aspect directly and immediately.
Yes. And finally, fifth, she wants the immediate restoration of her 50% share of financial assets that she claims were unlawfully taken or withheld from her, plus interest or other monetary relief to make her whole.
Okay, so it covers the trial outcome, the process, the kids, and the money. A complete reset and restoration is what she's aiming for.
That's the goal laid out in the motion, yes.
So, to wrap up our deep dive today, we've really gone through an extraordinary legal motion here. We've looked at how the respondent, Jessica Saxton, is challenging her divorce judgment.
And the claims are profound. Not just simple error, but allegations of fundamental judicial bias, a predetermined outcome relying on fabricated testimony.
And even extremely serious charges like perjury and fraud on the court, plus the claim that crucial evidence, like alleged domestic violence photos, was just ignored.
It's a lot to take in.
Definitely. And while this deep dive focused on one specific, incredibly contentious case, I think it really highlights something crucial for everyone.
Which is?
Just how critically important impartiality, due process, and, the truthful presentation of evidence are in any legal situation.
And perhaps just as importantly, how vital is it for all of us as citizens to understand the avenues that are available, like this motion for mistrial, when someone genuinely believes the system hasn't just made a mistake, but has failed to uphold its most basic promises of fairness and truth?